Okay, sorry. This is hard. Okay. I'm Davis Peterson.
And I'm Paul Mercer of the Ghosts Project.
And you're watching Spectre Vision.
Yeah.
Boo.
It's Spectre, and I'm here with the Ghosts Project with Paul Mercer and Davis Peterson. Just for the people who aren't familiar with your music, how would you describe it?
Why, yes. We're a percussion violin duo. We have a large background amongst us. We like to have guest musicians, people that are from different walks of the musical spectrum, so that every time we play with somebody new, it pushes us in a different direction. It's improvised.
You guys have kind of an eclectic sound.
Yeah,
you're always doing something different.
Yeah,
I would say that we came from different backgrounds with really strong roots. If I were to have to slap some labels that people could triangulate the sound from, I would say that we have a very strong neoclassical bent, very string heavy, a lot of classical modes and themes and ideas in an improvised context. Also a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian influence in the music, and a very heavy kind of hip hop and rock sensibility putting the whole thing together.
I know you have a lot of guest musicians and vocalists and stuff, and I always love hearing MC Zano. Oh my gosh, he's the bomb ditty. I love him so much.
He's my favorite.
On the subject of our musical guests, we've had some really marvelous musicians, some of the best people on the planet, play with us. We've been really blessed. We've had Jill Tracy on the stage. We've had Monica Richards from Faith in the Muse, Julia Cook, the taiko drummer, and
Nathaniel Johnstone.
Nathaniel Johnstone from Abney Park, who probably has guested with us more than any other musician. In fact, he did our whole West Coast tour with us.
I was gonna say he totally hangs out with you guys a lot.
Oh yes,
yeah, he's one of our good friends. And Zoe Keating has played with us. The fabulous throat singer Soraya from Seattle, Portland. Ashkelon Sane, who also works with Soraya, but you may remember it from Trance to the Sun and Submarine Fleet and all of that. And Viola Rose, the vocalist, gosh, we We started listening to Help Blinky Kids, everybody's, the point is we keep encountering some of the best musicians on the planet, and they are all capable of improvisation at a very high skill level, and they're in very different genres, and we like to throw them into the mix and see what happens. And what happens is, when it's good, improvised music that's not sort of a hippie jam band, and it's not straight ahead jazz, and it has form and structure, and that's what we go for in a live context, I guess.
I actually, that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to the Ghosts Project before, was there always seemed to be, and I would kindly use the term jam band, because I say jam band all the time, but in admiration, I guess I should say.
Well, I do like some jam bands.
To describe you guys, because every time I've seen you, you've had somebody else. But the one thing that I've always liked is that the mixture of the people that you've gotten always is so, I don't know the right term, organic. Like the flow that you guys have whenever everybody's on stage, just really nice, and it always keeps you guessing. It's the joke is you never really know who's going to be on stage with you guys.
Sometimes we don't know until they walk up to the stage and say, "Hey, it's like, that's right, we did say you could play with us." And that's the thing is everybody there is fantastic at their instrument, but they're also fantastic at listening.
Yeah,
they pay attention to each other. There's never been a moment where we've had somebody come up and grandstand or take it over, you know what I'm saying? Like hijack it and away from the other musicians. everyone's listening and paying attention, and that's key. You know, I think it's not necessarily just being a judge of a good musician, but a good judge of character. Like
Yeah.
they're going to come up and be a solid person up on the stage.
Well, you all are both, I don't know, I loosely use the term, I hate saying stuff like genres or saying, are you classically trained? Which, right. But you are both classically trained
Right.
to an extent in your instruments, and I don't even know how many instruments you play at home. I think it's like if it had,
Well, I play a lot of instruments, but I really only play the violin well and the viola. I play at everything else. Composition in the studio, I'll play on other things, but I would prefer never to play them in a live context.
You just like, you're a violin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and you were classically trained in it.
Yeah, I mean, I sat there with a book and went through all the different steps and all the exercises, and had somebody like hitting my wrists and my fingers with a drumstick, like, no, it's wrong, and all that. But I come from also a hand drum background, and yeah,
Well,
I hit everything.
I was gonna say that's part of my next question because
Well, on the subject of the classical training, I would say that my training was not strictly classical.
I guess what I was trying to ask is whether or not you were self-taught or.
I would consider myself primarily self-taught. I learned the fundamentals in elementary and grade school, basically up through high school, and then I had an epiphany. I started writing music, and then I started street performing, and that's really where I learned. It was just standing there and playing and playing. I've actually had more classical training in my life in Hindustani music than in Western classical music. So as an adult, I've played a lot of catch-up, going back and filling vast gaps in my musical theory and technique. So it's a hodgepodge.
Yeah, well, and that's okay. I like that actually better. I feel like when you take yourself there as opposed to only going where other people take you, that it can have a better result, in my personal opinion. But I wanted to ask you really about the name The Ghosts Project and how you guys maybe met and started this interesting project of sorts that I've come to love.
Well, it actually started originally in '04. What happened was I had a jazz combo, a little trio. It was upright bass and a horn, and we were playing a bit and doing more of the Miles Davis kind of stuff, being sort of like the acid jazz and being really just like noisy and rambunctious.
And ironic.
Yeah, but just being like just trying to really push the limits of our abilities, and also just compositions and having a bar of this, and a bar of that, and just really heavily composed pieces. And I was getting really bored with it because it was jazz, and I didn't grow up on jazz. I grew up on rock like all our generation, but I really gravitated to it. And so at one point I was like, we need to get a fourth person. And I told him, I said, I want a wild card. I want somebody who is not a jazz player. I don't want jazz. I don't want another horn player. I don't want a guitar player. I was like, if you guys know anybody, just bring me somebody. And so we had like an audition of like maybe 5 people that we'd gotten together. And they said, there's another guy, he plays violin. We met him at an open improv, and I think it's going to be different. He's going to be maybe the wild card you want. And I was like, that's awesome. This was very fun. So we had a guy come in and play guitar, and he was very talented, very technical, just everything you want in that kind of music. But again, it was boring to me because he was so technically great, but he didn't have this wild card ability. He walks in, and he comes in, and Paul has the ability to look. He's looked this look forever. He's wonderful. He's ageless, and so he comes in, and I was like, this guy's got style. He's got panache. Let's see what happens. He sits down, he plays his violin, and starts tuning, and he hits the first note, and the second he hit that first note, I was like, that's my guy. Because there's something going on here that is far and above whatever we've seen so far. I mean, we saw one guy, we also played with other people as well. But I was like, this is my guy. I love this. And the entire time we were in that band together, I was gravitating more to what he was doing and further away from the horn player and the bass player. And what he was doing was fresh and was pulling me back into my roots, because I'm Armenian, so I grew up with those rhythms and playing that music and listening to those George Abdo 78s. And I grew up listening to all that belly dance stuff. So I was like, all right, this makes sense, and it wasn't that strict jazz thing. And so we just, one night I called him up and I was like, you know what, we need to play together, just our sets. We were doing solo pieces together, duos, during the set in the jazz band. And it was pretty amazing. So we actually did our first show, and then we recorded our first album, 6:30:06, like right after that, with almost no rehearsal. It's live, one bit, done, to one microphone in a room in a radio station, and it was by far the best thing. I was like, this is the best thing I've done in 10 years. This here, right here. This is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my musical career. I've got a path now, and
it's on, basically.
It's on, you know. And then,
yeah, so there I was. I was trying to learn some jazz. But yeah, we gravitated to each other's styles because I think what we wanted to do was more essential and less crafted's the wrong word. We didn't want to do anything that was contrived. It was like, you know, simple, powerful arrangements, a lot of stuff that was modal that deals in one key signature, you know, which is the way a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian music works, and quite frankly, a lot of jazz players get bored with that, you know, so we had this radio show, and we're like, well, we have to do this now, and you know, we eventually parted ways with DP3. It just, you know, everybody had to go off. Professor Califia left us for a studio or for a teaching post, and our horn player wandered away, and so we just made this really the focus. It was kind of like meeting each other in the midst of this thing. We're both like, I think we see eye to eye on this. Right. Whatever it is, we understand it. So now we've worked together for 7 years.
Yep.
Wow. That's I think one of the reasons I've always been drawn to the music too was the Middle Eastern influence, like the sax pedal. And one thing that did interest me when I first saw you guys was I thought, well, because I like ghost things.
Yes.
But I wanted to know why the Ghosts Project, which I have to enunciate, and I'm saying this because I always say the Ghost Projects.
Yeah.
Or the.
Right, yeah, and that's sort of been the bane of our name, the plural thing that will haunt us for the rest of our career.
Which would be appropriate because it's ghost something. So.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, before meeting Davis, the most essential thing that I'd recorded, and this was back earlier in my career, I was working in a violin shop, and I began this odd project of documenting these old violins, and some of them really seem to have voices, and so the word ghosts came up to be a way to describe these intangible melodies or ideas that seem to come from old places or old things. It's not so much as hearing voices or seeing somebody standing in the room with you, but there is a presence to old instruments, and I don't know if that's imagined, and I'm very skeptical, but that's the one point in my life where I at least subjectively, it's like there's really something about this. And Davis and I, we kind of wanted to keep on that vein a little bit and try to keep something that's essential. So for us, ghosts isn't so much spooks and specters. Mm-hmm. It's trying to tap into these ephemeral things that are about the places you're in, the instruments you're playing. Sometimes even people they carry this little baggage with them, and I think the best shows are always the ones where we tap into the environment. And the unique thing about our music is that because we're able to improvise a lot of it, we don't have to play the same song the same way twice.
Right.
And so a lot of times, in a situation where it's difficult, it's much easier to play in front of 20,000 people than